and welcome to the PetiteKnit podcast. My name is Erin and I'm so glad that you've joined me here today. You are joining me from my dining room right now, so welcome. My husband is out of town in Toronto doing some work stuff, and I am joining him later on tonight for a City in Color concert. I'm so excited to see Dallas Green with City in Color. I mean, he is City in Color, but I only have seen him with Pink, surprisingly enough. If you're a City in Color fan, by the way, and you did not know that Dallas Green and Pink came out with an album together in 2014 called You Plus Me, it is incredible. And when I saw Pink pre-pandemic, a while ago, he came on as a special guest. And out of the hundreds of concerts I've been to, it is the only concert I've been to that had a special guest. So he has a special place in my heart. And we got some last minute tickets and I'm very excited to go see him. Although I did not realize that I am going to Budweiser stage the same night as the CNE is on, and I just feel like a complete idiot. I don't think I would have gotten tickets had I known that the CNE was happening, because if you're not familiar with Toronto and the CNE is Canadian National Exhibition, something like that. I've actually never been, so that'll be nice to go, but they're basically at the same place. So there's a concert venue that's right on Lake Ontario and the CNE, and they share a parking space. And so because I have to drive in, usually I park at the venue, and I had to figure out some stuff because our train system is horrific here. I just keep on thinking back to the concerts I went to in London, where everyone collectively left the concert and walked as a collective to the tube station, and we all got on transit and went on our way. Like, no one was really driving all that much. And unfortunately, it's just not an option for me to. I'm only an hour away from Toronto. Most times it takes about 2 hours to drive to downtown Toronto, despite only being 100 kilometers away. And there is a train that takes 2 hours for some reason that goes between the two, but the last train leaves at 10:30. And obviously the concert is not going to be done by 10:30, and the train station's about a half hour away from the venue, half-hour walk. So I knew that I would need to get a train ticket for 11:30 at the latest. And then I thought, oh, maybe I can park in Mississauga or Brampton and then train from there. Maybe there's more frequent trains. No, the latest train is still pretty early. So just a complete failure of our rail system here in Canada. And I know they're steadily improving it, but it was just a bit of a disappointment. So I get to go brave some traffic later on this afternoon. So I've basically taken the day off just to mentally prepare for driving downtown Toronto and fighting some people for a parking spot. But yeah, so that's why he's not here, and that's kind of what's happening to me tonight. So that's great. I also wanted to take a moment at the beginning here to thank you so much for your love and support on the last two videos, and especially my last video. If you didn't see it, I started a new series on my channel where I'm going to do a knit and chat. Very original, I know. If anyone knows who originated the knit and chat, or if that's even possible to know, please let me know. I would love to credit them. But I am doing knit and chats on some more. I know a lot of people do knit and chats talking about knitting, and I feel like I do enough of that in my podcast. There's nothing else of my knitting life to give. So I really wanted to do some knit and chats about life. And I started with my first one about getting off of antidepressants and how getting off antidepressants has completely and utterly changed my life for the better. So if you want to hear me talk about that and knit along with it, I will leave it in the description box below. But I haven't responded to those comments yet just because it's been a little overwhelming in good ways. I just wanted to say thank you for your kind words, and I will be getting back to your comments as soon as I can get the mental space to do that. And I did want to give one update to that. Things are still going very well, and the brain zaps have stopped, which is very exciting. But I was actually talking to an in real life friend, IRL friend, and had mentioned a bit of my experience with it. Didn't go into like 40 minutes of detail like I did in the video. And he said, oh my gosh, I've never had someone put into words what I experienced when I went off of my antidepressants. What? So I mean, I just feel so much better having even reached one person and given them some validation in their experience coming off antidepressants. And I hope that other people are able to experience the same and kind of get a grip on things that were happening in their life that maybe was unexpected. And as a synopsis, basically, the antidepressants took, in a way, my ability to be creative, and I'm learning at what it means to get that back. So as a whole bunch of other things, and I'm just learning how to be a person again, and I just feel so much better as a person. So that's great. So let's get into some knitting. I am wearing my April cardigan. I had shown this on the last episode, but I wanted to show it to you dry, blocked in with buttons because I feel like it looks 10 times better. So I'm just gonna quickly stand up here. Look at her. Doo-doo-doo. Yes, I'm wearing shorts. But like, look how nice that button, those buttonholes look and the buttons look. I am off. But when I button it correctly, it looks very good. I am so pleased with this cardigan. I've already worn it a bunch of times because we had a bit of a colder spell here, and it's a bit warmer today, so I'm wearing Lulu shorts, which you got a nice little peek of. But it's such a perfect basic. I used these very reflective shell, don't mind my nails, shell buttons. And I found that this top one pulls a little bit when I'm wearing it normally, so I have been buttoning it with the first one undone and the bottom 3 done up, and I find that that's perfect for me. I don't know why it's pulling with the first one up, but I feel like if I do the like must increase my bust, not that I'm ever doing that, but you know, if I really like going hard, I just worry it's gonna pop. Not that it's a big deal if it pops, but I don't know. I prefer only 3. Oh, and if you're interested in my top, I'm like an evangelist for this top. It makes me feel like I'm selling out a little bit, but the Uniqlo bra tank tops are unbelievably fantastic. I rarely buy fast fashion. I thrift and I make, I would say 90% of my wardrobe at this point, with the exception being these bra tops. They have built-in cups in the top. So I would say if you are anywhere from like a B to a double D, these should fit you pretty well, and they have built-in cups that aren't removable. I hate removable cups. They are molded in the bra, and so you can just put on the top, and they fit great, and they make your boobs look great, and I'm obsessed with them. I have them in 5 colors. Love them, love them. 5 colors? It might actually be 6. Oop. But I wear them almost every day, and I wear them in the winter underneath sweaters, and I just find them the most comfortable tops and the most comfortable bras, to be honest. So definitely do those. And definitely, if you are looking for a basic cardigan, I think the April cardigan is an excellent choice. I really like the shoulder detailing. Maybe I'll put a photo of that. And I find that it fits really well. I made mine on the more cropped side, and my only regret with it is I wish I'd put just an inch more on the sleeve. It fits bracelet length, which I know for some people is their preferred length. I prefer just a little bit of a longer sleeve. I find that when it's bracelet length, it, in a weird way, overemphasizes how short I am. And you'd think it'd be the opposite. You think it would be like, give the look of like, you've got such long arms that you are busting out of your sweater. But I find that instead it just makes me look like a child in a child sweater that I've outgrown. So yeah, I think that this is an okay length, that I don't notice it as much, but I would just point that out, that is a modification I wish I had gifted to myself, is just an extra inch on the sleeves. And I had the yarn for it. I actually have enough yarn to make an accessory with, which I'm excited for. This is knitting for olive, mohair, and merino, the single merino. I've been going back and forth on what to make with that. It might just be a hat. I think a white fluffy hat would be very nice to wear. So that is the April cardigan. I'm glad to have it dry and off the needles, and it is number 2 in the cardigan extravaganza. Let's talk about number 3. So I was hoping to give this one a blocking before I showed you guys, but I just finished the button band last night because double knit button bands take so darn long, and it is, of course, I'm so excited guys, the Shrike cardigan. Look at that, we've got a button band. Ta-da! I think it looks so good with the broken rib. Oh my gosh. And the buttonholes. And you may be wondering why my knitting is so neat over here, and then it looks like it was massacred on the button band. And that is because I started off this cardigan knitting with brand new yarn. Let me show you this detail right here because I just am so obsessed. Okay, I've got a bit to say about this, but the reason that the button band looks like that, and the reason I was hoping I would have blocked before showing you guys, is because if you recall, I had started knitting the wool strand, the Ficalana arvetta, into a another cardigan into a fingering weight cardigan. And so when I started knitting on this, I had only knit 3 of the skeins of the ficalana into the other cardigan, and I put that aside and said I'm going to frog it when I need to, and I'm going to start with the fresh ficalana. And so that is what I knit this with. So this button band is the start of the 4th skein, which was already knit into something else, and that's why the yarn looks really wonky, is because I did not wash it before knitting it into something else. And so I have the mega ball of yarn, and as you can see, if I pull on a strand, it is bumpy, and that is what is creating the look of the button band right now. So it's going to look absolutely fine when blocked. I just need to give it a good soak, but instead of skeining the Arvetta up, I ended up putting all 3 skeins into the mega ball, and the mega ball will be coming back again with the next project, but this is a ball of about 3 skeins of ficalana Arvetta, and I just find it much easier when I'm balling up sweaters to make up these mega balls that I can just pull from, and they're super easy to knit from. They're kind of like a cone in that way, and they'll just go and go and go. And instead of making a different ball every time the wool splits, so as you can tell, this is the end from here, and I can already see another end. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Coming up over here, I ended up just winding them all onto the same ball and making a really big ball, because when you start off these balls, I find that they get really finicky and they take longer to wind, and when you've got some like surface on the winding, it takes a lot less time. And so when I'm winding a sweater, I will make 1 or 2 mega balls of the yarn with for that sweater, and then knit that into something else. And this project only needed 1 mega ball, and it was bigger when we started. So that is the mega ball of yarn, and I am pairing that with the tin silk mohair, and that I was never in the original sweater, so that is fresh, and that's what they look like together. One's a bit warmer, one's a bit cooler. They make a beautiful sweater together, and better together, sweater together. So I was getting a little bit concerned about this sweater actually approaching the button band. I finished the body. Maybe I'll put it on. I'll pull a Francesca for you. Y'all, it's looking so good. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but like I'm really happy with how this is turning out. So I was a little bit concerned about the cardigan for the reason of the back detailing. So right here, before I put the button band on, so I finished the body of the cardigan, and then I figured I'd put the button band on right away. So it always looks nicer when you have that finishing, and it kind of pulls it all together. And I was a little bit worried because the body, and I wish I had a picture of this, when these stitches were not connected to the button band, they flayed out. They like really spread out like this, and they did not look good at all. And I was really concerned that that detail that I had done in the back that is supposed to like define the shoulders and really be one of the defining features of this cardigan just looked like trash. And I was like, no, I was so upset. But then when I put on the button band, and I was already thinking in my head of like, how can I redesign this? How can I make this work a little bit better? Do I have to remove that detail altogether? Should it just be like 1 or 2 ribbing instead of the 3 ribs? I had thought of like a million different ways I could redo this sweater, and I actually bought another quantity of yarn to redo the sweater, which is good anyway. I want to be able to make it while my testers are making it, just to be able to see, maybe in a different size like I did with the Sauble Tank, or I made a size 5 to start and did a size 4 in testing. I might do something similar here, although I do feel like this size is kind of perfect for me. Yeah, I got really scared, but the button band, the way that I had done it, really you're only picking up 1 stitch per stitch, which ended up just pulling that right back in tight. And it looks so much better, and it fits so much better. And honestly, this button band saved this cardigan, because I was ready to cry with the fact that that back line was just not sitting correctly. It just like, it annoyed the heck out of me. I couldn't understand how I had messed it up this bad on a pattern. And I was like, well, other people have done this in their patterns. And I was looking to other patterns of people who have done the line, and I could only figure out, I could like this shoulder detailing, and I could only find people that had done the shoulder detailing with like either a solid panel of stockinette or some other like cable design down the shoulder there. And I was like, well, maybe they did that for a reason. Maybe everyone knows that ribbing isn't supposed to be on the shoulder. Like, I was having a full-on crisis. And no, it's fine. It just needs a button band to really bring it in. And on the other side, it just sits fine because it just comes down like this. So I am super happy with that, how that turned out. It is sitting at the exact point of the shoulder that I wanted to, just on the back shoulder. The arms are fitting the way that I need them to be able to put arms on them. And by next episode, there should be a testicle out for the Shrike Cardigan. So let me replace the cardigans, put the other cardigan back on quickly. But yeah, I'm just so happy with how that's turning out. I will show you in acquisitions what I'm planning to make my next one in. But just so that you guys know, I made this, of course, with a fingering weight and a wool, and my next sample will be with a DK weight. So this can really be made with either. I made it on 4mm needles, and I forget the gauge right now. Such a good designer. But I anticipate, based on my feedback for the Sauble Tank, that most people will actually be knitting this on, which way does gauge go? On a 4.5, because I am a loose knitter and usually have to go down in needle size. So I anticipate this gauge being, most people will knit it on a 4.5mm needle is my guess, because I have to go down for everything. So, and I try to take that into account when I am designing. So, and in terms of the ribbing, I talked about last time how I was considering just making the cardigan end. I did end up putting a ribbing on there, and I'm really pleased with the way it looks. Is that a stain? No, that's just the way the light's hitting it. So yeah, I do like the way that the ribbing looks on there, and then I just did an Italian bind off at the end. You could do tubular or whatever else floats your boat, but in my own knitting, I don't find that a tubular bind off looks all that different than an Italian bind off. And the tubular bind off requires a little bit more forethought. And when I'm ready to bind off, I'm ready to bind off. I don't know. So maybe I'll come back to it one day. Maybe I'll try it again one day and be like, oh shit, it does look a lot better. But I don't know. I'm really pleased with these edges. I think they look great. They obviously need a block. Actually, I switched to the wonky yarn 2 rows before the end. So you can actually see it bending at the end there, and that'll block it. That's fine. But yeah, I'm so happy with it. I cannot wait to wear it. All of you guys on my last videos were just complimenting the fact that I look good in purple. And I think you've sold me on purple, guys. I know at the beginning I was like, oh, I'm really in love with the color lavender, but like I don't love purple. I think I love purple now. I really am liking it, but only that shade of purple. I'm a little picky about my purples. But just in time for fall, I will have a lovely lavender cardigan. I'm hoping it'll get done by mid-September, which I almost definitely will. Because I actually think that either this cardigan, maybe not this cardigan because it's white, or the purple cardigan, I'm going to a wedding in a bit. And I think that they would be nice to bring just in case it gets a little chilly. I don't know, you guys, is this cardigan like appropriate to wear over top of a not white dress? Or is that pushing it? I think it might be pushing it. Might have to choose a different cardigan. Although I feel like this cardigan and like the Shrike cardigan is not as cropped as this one. But I feel like this cropped length would look perfect with a dress. So I might bring it just in case it gets a little chilly, but you never know. September in Ontario with this year, who knows? I don't know. Let's go to the next one. So this one I am so happy to finally have in the round. It is flying by now. And this is, oh my gosh, I'm gonna forget the name. The Farnham sweater, is that right? I am testing this for the Knit Program for Sophie. It looks like this. So this is another one that I frogged. This is Blue Skies Fibers Woolstock Worsted, just one of my favorite yarns of all time. I had made this into a Snow Crocus by Midori Hirose, and the sweater just wasn't fitting me right. I think part of the reason is I started it in my first year of knitting, put it on hold for a bit, picked it up in my second year of knitting, and I can tell all the mistakes I made in my first year of knitting on the top, because obviously it's knit top down, and so was one very prominent mistake in the front where I'd done one extra row for the keeples, and honestly it was just, I think, a bit too an advanced pattern for where I was. I'm very proud of myself for making it. It was a really enjoyable knit, but for the reason of the mistake on the keyble at the front that only I could see, mind you, I just never wore it. So, and I thought the neckline was a little finicky on it, And had I been the knitter that I know what I know now, I know how I would have fixed it, but I did not know then. And so I did not fix it. And it was something that I really couldn't fix after the fact with elastic, though I tried. And so I ended up frocking it because it's one of my favorite yarns. I want it in something that I'm wearing, even though it's not my favorite color. Sophie had made one of her samples in a color close to this, so I thought it would be perfect. And so this is a very simple drop shoulder pattern. I have just joined in the round, and it has this beautiful zigzag pattern on the shoulders. So because this is yarn that has already been knit into something and I did not soak it, she's looking a little wonky. I actually, here's a hack for you guys. When I am working with yarn that's already been knit into something and I don't bother soaking it, sometimes I take a straight iron out and straighten it as I go. And I did that with the back on a very low heat, and I find that the back looks a little less wonky than the front does, but it's a lot of effort, and I just gave up after a little while. And so that's what this is looking like. It definitely washes me out a little bit, but I think the color is a perfect basic. I think everyone needs an oatmeal sweater, and I have one that's like white-ish, but like a whitey oatmeal, but this will be like a true oatmeal color, and I'm really excited. So I think after this podcast, it will be going into the bath with my Shrike Cardigan, because I want to see what it looks like blocked out. Actually, you know what? I might stick the neckline on it and then send it in for a bath. And then I can get some beautiful photos of it, like the knitfluencer I am. I'm just kidding. I mean, I do want photos of it, but I don't really see myself as a knitfluencer. Anyway, so yeah, I am really in love with this design. This is in testing, and she had an incredibly long testing call, which is why I haven't brought it up for a while. I started it before I left for England in June when the tester call first went out, and her tester call, like the due date for this is in October. And so I just left it knowing that I thought England would be warmer, because everyone was saying England's in a heat wave. It was not, while I was there, I could have easily brought this sweater and finished it and then worn it in Scotland. It was chilly. But that's fine. So I've just picked it up again now that I'm back, and it's been, the weather's been weird here. It's been on the chillier side, but it's also like hot today. So I don't know. I don't know what the weather's doing. Yeah, now I just have stockinette the round for the rest of the sweater, I think, other than the trim and the neckline. And it's nice to have a project that is stockinette the round. Is the only one that I have currently on my needles that is stockinette the round. And I'm excited because I'm getting to a point where I think I can add another project or two into my roster, which I have been restricting myself from doing. But I have projects that I left on hold last April, May time, and I'd like to finish those up first before I start anything actually new, which is, I've had a few people message me about the Sauble sweater, and they really want to test it for me, and thank you. That is why I have not cast that on yet. I want to focus on the Shrike Cardigan, and once I get that written up, I will probably cast on the Sauble sweater at that point. I just am not in the point where I want to, or my brain can handle having that many designs in my head at once, especially with the workload at work right now. So although designing is a fun thing for me and I am enjoying it, it will have to be don't plan on being like a boom, boom, boom. I remember Rebecca from Crabea said the same thing, and now she's putting out designs every month. I don't think that'll be me, genuinely. I genuinely do not think that'll be me. For one thing, I still love testing. There is a new design that is coming out by Sari Nordland soon. I think the Colette sweater. She did the Colette Tee. I missed that tester call, and I love it. And if she said she's coming out with the sweater version of it. I'm hoping to get on that test. Fingers crossed, because I think that's stunning. And like, I still want to be able to test for designers. It's something that I really enjoy, and it's something that I know you guys enjoy as well. Seeing some of the designs that come out and hearing someone say their thoughts about them. So that's definitely not something that I want to be giving up. Yeah, I think it'll be like a one design at a time. And if it's one design at a time, it'll probably be one design every 2, probably 3 months. That is kind of what I'm figuring. That said, I've got 5 in mind. Oh, you know what the next thing I'm casting on is for sure is the Sauble Tank sweater vest version. That will be easy enough. I just need to make the sample and make a few modifications to the pattern. And again, if you have the Sauble Tank pattern, you will be getting that for free. So that's exciting. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. I do want to do a knit and chat on designing, I think after the Shrike Cardigan comes out, because I have some thoughts about how I feel about how I did on the first one. and what I'm planning to do for the second one. And I hope it'll be more of a compare and contrast. So I'm interested to see how this one goes. Yeah, I don't think I have, no, Farnham Tee is her other sweater. What is this one called? As I thought. So the Farnham Tee and sweater is one of her beautiful striped sweater designs that I would love to one day cast on. And I will link below because it is beautiful. This is the Tendreil Sweater, which I believe is a Celtic word. Like a Gaelic word. Celtic word. Celtic language? I think it's a Gaelic word. I don't know which Gaelic it's from. But I think I remember her saying that's where she got it from. I may be wrong. But I will leave it linked down below. She just has finished a blue sample, which I think is stunning. So the Tendreil by the Knit Purl Girl, not the Farnham, although that is another sweater of hers. One more design to show you. So this tee I had shown last time, and I haven't made all that much progress on it. I'm losing my summer knitting mojo, if I'm being honest. But this is the Florencia Tee by EweKnit Toronto, and it's got a beautiful eyelet pattern, and it is knit bottom up. So this is the bottom, and there are just so many stitches on these needles. I am knitting it, I had to go down in needle size, so I'm knitting this on 3.25mm needles, and you know, I think it's gonna make a lovely sweater. I am knitting this in Purl Soho's linen quill in the purple color. Oh, actually I can tell you the exact color this time. Purple smoke, not purple haze, purple smoke. So that's what that looks like. I think it's beautiful. Yeah, like a beigey, not beigey, it's like a neutral purple color, and I'm hoping it'll suit me. I have questions, but if all else fails, I will dye it black. As is true for most things in my life. If it fails, I'll dye it black. But yeah, I mean, I think this tee is beautiful. I think it is at risk of being hibernated because I just have other things I want to get on my needles, and especially if I'm trading it for something already in hibernation, I feel like that feels a little bit better for me. So who knows what I'll be knitting on next week, but I would love to see a color that's not purple and beige. It's my greatest plan. And but I am really liking this pattern so far. For transparency, I got sent this pattern by EweKnit, but I did not get sent one of the kits that some other YouTubers had been sent. I had yarn in my stash, I just used that instead, but I did not get sent one of the kits. I only got sent the pattern, and if you are interested in knitting it, I have a 50% off coupon, so if this is something that was already on your list, you might as well take that opportunity. And I am just very happy to support a Toronto-based designer, a designer that is close to me. So that is all I have for that. The Sauble Tee thing that I was making, the raglan with the Sauble diamonds on the shoulder, I think I am going to retire for the year and come back to it. Not because I don't love it, I actually think I would wear it all the time. I just have zero interest in knitting 2 t-shirts on a 3.25mm needle in the same yarn right now, even though it's a yarn that I love, linen quill. I don't know, I just don't have the desire to be knitting on it right now. And I can see the Florencia Tee sadly going in the same direction, not because it's not enjoyable, not because I don't think the finished object is going to be lovely, just because I think I'm just kind of ready for fall, and that's okay. I know a lot of people really get a little snippety about the people who are constantly putting things in hibernation. And to that, I admire your discipline. I am not in knitting for discipline. That is the least of my concerns. I am doing knitting. Oh, you can see my dog, little cutie. I am not knitting because of discipline. I am knitting because I enjoy it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I want it to remain a hobby. And if I am forcing myself through something, it feels less like a hobby than I would like it to. I've got other things in my life, like my Latin and my work and other... He's drinking water. I'm very proud of him. He doesn't usually drink water. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is I've got other things in my life where I practice discipline, and knitting is not one of them. I even practice discipline in the yarn that I purchase, and I practice discipline in the clothes that I buy, and I will not be practicing discipline in what I am choosing to have on my needles, because ultimately I want it to give me joy. I want it to produce a project that I'm going to wear, and that is why I'm so open to ripping things out, frocking back, because if I'm not going to wear it, I don't want to waste the yarn. And if I'm not loving the project that I'm knitting on, I don't want to waste my time. So that's That's that. Let's get into some acquisitions. I've got some fun ones actually. The Thrifting Queen is back. I will say for all of you guys that are like, it must just be your area, you're very lucky. I am very lucky. While I was in Maidstone, I did have the opportunity to buy some secondhand yarn on Facebook Marketplace that I passed up because it would not fit in my suitcase. But the thrift stores, I would say I found nothing in thrift stores there. So I will say you're absolutely right on that. At least in terms of England, I could not find any yarn in any thrift store. But I could definitely find some secondhand yarn on Facebook Marketplace. So if you're in England, I ended up checking at a bunch of places just because it's my habit to go on Marketplace, and obviously my location was different. So if you are in any of those places in England, I would just check Marketplace. You might actually be able to find some good yarn. It's definitely not as cheap as it would be at a thrift store, but you never know. And actually, I've had a friend of mine from England actually say that she has found some yarn in a thrift store. So while I will say I'm in an extraordinarily lucky position that I found so much in my area. My area doesn't have a yarn store. My city of 500,000 people, or like the area of 500,000 people, I have to drive over a half hour to get to my nearest yarn store, and it's fantastic, but it's in the neighboring city. And so you would think that that would prohibit there being like a huge influx of yarn being here. And often I do have to drive to that city to get yarn, but just throwing it out there that it's a practice, thrifting yarn, finding yarn, especially online, but it's not something that is exclusive to my area, and I fully believe that you can do it in your areas. First, let's talk about my most exciting find, my most recent one as well, is I saw this pop up on Facebook Marketplace, and it really said, for you. So I found some Brooklyn Tee Kori, and this is their thicker, bulky weight yarn in the color Fossil. I found 5 skeins of this selling for $60. Didn't even try to haggle. I was like, yes, please give me that yarn. I'm pretty sure this yarn goes for over $20 a skein in Canada, and I bought it for $12 a skein, and I think that's a bargain. This is a yarn that I've been wanting to knit with for the longest time. I have knit in Harrisville tweed, and it was one of my favorite yarns and one of my most worn sweaters to date. And this yarn, I've been told, is milled in the same place in Harrisville, I believe. Yep, Harrisville, New Hampshire is where it is spun. And I am so happy to have another sweaters quantity of this and to be able to knit with it again. This, unfortunately, will not be a sweater for me. This will be a sweater for my husband. One of my Keybold sweaters that I made last year, PetiteKnit pattern, the name of it is escaping me. I will put a photo up here. Is a sweater that I love, and my husband steals it from me all the time, despite the arms being comically too small for him. I'm 5'2", he is 6 foot. The sweater is not made for him. It is made for my frame, but he loves the wool so much and he wears it constantly. And so I was really excited to find this, and I think it'll be enough. I'm hoping for a zipper sweater man by PetiteKnit is my first thought. He wants a big cabled sweater. I don't think I'm gonna have the yarn for that. I've only got 5 skeins of this. Thankfully, he's really thin, so I can get away with a size small in men's. And so I think that 5 skeins of this, I mean, it's only 1,000 yards. I'm gonna have to knit it at a loose gauge, I think, and just be careful with what I make, but I think it'll be fine. And if all else fails, I can buy an extra of this. It would just be like a kind of a toss-up as stylots, and I think that this color would actually look way better on him than it would on me, because he's got much darker skin than I do, and I think it would really suit this color, whereas on me I think it washes me out a little bit. So yeah, I'm very excited to find this. What a find. I cannot believe she was selling it. I mean, this is the question that I always have and I want to ask people, but I don't want to be like a prick about it. It's like, why are you selling this? Like, why would you not use this beautiful yarn? This is the kind of yarn that even if I didn't knit with it this year, I would keep it on stash for as long as you would find this when I die. It's just such a beautiful yarn. I don't know why anyone would ever give it up, but especially for such a discounted price. Don't tell her, I would have spent more. Very thrilled to have this in my stash. And this, I think, I've been thinking a lot about whether to buy an advent calendar for myself to treat myself, because I've never had an advent calendar before. And I think instead I'm going to treat myself to a sweaters quantity of Brooklyn tweed, just because I love that other sweater so much that I think I would really utilize a sweater in the same yarn. Or Harrisville Designs, again, but the way that they do their yarn lots, I would either have to get black or beige with like speckles in it, and I love their yarns, but I don't know that I want black or beige for this sweater. So one of those hopefully will be happening around Christmas time as a treat to myself, but I'm not sold on that yet. We'll see. The other one that I got secondhand is new for me. So I've been selling some things on Poshmark, which is a retailer where you can sell things secondhand. Maybe I'll leave my link below if you want to buy some of my clothes. I'm not selling any yarn on there. It's just clothes that I'm decluttering my closet slowly. And my goal with it is, I'll sell some clothes and then I'll be able to buy some clothes. But I find that the whole Poshmark platform I just find it really overwhelming. I find thrifting online just doesn't mesh with my brain. I've looked at ThreadUp too. I think ThreadUp's a bit of a scam if you're asking me, but I've also looked at ThreadUp. And I just find it way too overwhelming to search through everything. I'm also someone who has a body that is not the body that clothes are designed for, and so I really like to try things on, and of course that's not something you can do on Poshmark. So when I realized they had yarn on Poshmark, I was like, my credit will be used for that. So I bought this entirely with Poshmark credit. Obviously I sold things to get that credit, but basically, girl math, it was free to me. So that's exciting. And I ended up finding someone that was selling 10 balls of knit picks wool of the Andes in the color Peapod, which I thought was such a pretty color. This is a color I've been wanting to knit a sweater in anyways, so that's a great find. I really love wool of the Andes. I've used it before, and I think it makes up really, really beautiful sweaters. It is more of a discount yarn, and I honestly didn't even get it for that great of a price, but I did get it for a cheaper price than I would have gotten it at Knit Picks. So I spent 40 Canadian dollars on this. I believe it would be 40 US dollars for 10 skeins, around there for 10 skeins of Knit Picks wool of the Andes, maybe 36. But the Canadian exchange is so poor right now that it ended up being, I think, with shipping, maybe $10 off what I would have spent getting it through Knit Picks, which I mean, $10 is $10. But the fact, really, the reason I got it is I could use credit with it. And I actually don't have many sweaters quantities of like a worsted weight yarn, and so I was really happy to grab that, and I just think it's such a fun color. And so there were some other ones on there that I was looking at that they were selling all sorts of yarn on there, so I would definitely recommend checking out Poshmark for used yarn. I would have never thought to look there. It's not like there's a lot of it, but there's enough of it. And there is another yarn haul that I'm keeping my eye on, but I don't have credit anymore, and I'd have to spend real money on it, and it's $100. But I think it might be worth it. I forget, it was like a fancy yarn. It was like what's the name of that French designer? Le Bien-Aimé. She had a sweater's quantity of Le Bien-Aimé yarn that would be worth well over $200. She's selling for $100. And I was like, oh, maybe I've never tried her yarn before. Everyone says it's so good. So that might also be in my future. And then the last thing that I bought, and I did buy this with my own money, is I went to Galt House of Yarn, which is my local ish yarn store in Cambridge, Ontario, and I wanted to get a sweaters quantity to make a second Shrike Cardigan in, my purple cardigan. And so I went in looking for a DK weight yarn. I actually ordered it online, but I went in to pick it up so I didn't have to pay for shipping. And I ended up trying Peer Gynt. I have never tried Peer Gynt before, actually. I've never tried Sunday either. I was going between the two, and I said, you know what, it's a cardigan, it's not gonna sit close to my neck. I'll try Peer Gynt because it's a bit rougher, but it's also a bit cheaper. And so I bought 10 balls of this. I suspect I might need a couple more, but I'm not as concerned about the dye lots on this one. I feel I'll just make it work. I'll make the button man a little bit different of a blue, whatever. But I'm starting off with 10 and we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so this is their bright blue. Does it have the colorway on here? It's just not. 100% wool. It's their bright blue color in the Peer Gynt. I've been seeing everyone knitting with this color. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm so excited to have something in this color. My love of blue is coming back. Blue was my favorite color my whole life, and then in my 20s it switched to green, and now the blue is like washing over me again, and I'm really just in love with the blue. And so I'm just so excited to have like sweaters in these bright colors. Yeah, it's kind of funny how color trends kind of come in waves where we're all into neutrals and then we're all into brights, and I hear it from all sorts of people that they're really just embracing bright colors lately, and I am loving it. One of the styles that I'd love to explore in these brighter colors is 80s ski sweaters. I know they were a trend a couple years ago, and I don't see them coming back as a trend, but I think that they would go so well with this bright color palette that so many of us are embracing. And so that's something that I'm interested in looking into as well. But for now, this will be a Shrike cardigan, I believe. This will probably be one of the next things that I'm casting on because I'd love to do it at the same time as my testers. And I'm so excited to see how it turns out. The other thing is that I think that these go lovely together, and I think that they look nice side by side. But yeah, I'm just so excited for this color, and I'm so excited that I'm thrifting yarn again. I've been to a whole bunch of thrift stores in the area actually, and just have gotten a complete zero on yarn because I'm looking for a wedding guest dress, and I made myself, this is where I practice self-control, is that I do not buy new special occasion dresses other than my wedding dress. As a matter of principle, because I only wear it once or twice, and I just can't see the value in spending $100 to $200. And I have not been able to find a stupid dress for this wedding. I do have one, but it's in like a dark red color, and I just don't feel like that's appropriate for a brunch wedding in September. And so I've been desperately looking for a dress to wear to this wedding, and I have not found one at the thrift store. So we're getting near crunch time. If all else fails, I will buy a dress. But I really do hope I don't have to, because I have stuck to this rule for like 10 years now, and I've never bought a dress that wasn't secondhand. And technically I didn't even buy my wedding dress either. It was kindly gifted to me by my parents. So who knows? We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just wear the burgundy dress and call it a day. It feels weird. I mean, it's appropriate for September, but is it appropriate for a brunch wedding? I'm probably thinking too much into this. This video's getting weird. Can you tell I haven't eaten yet? It's a problem. I'm gonna get some food in me. My next video, as I'm going to be jumping on the bandwagon of everyone else and talking about my fall knitting plans. So I shared a bit of them today, but I'm going to share them a little more formally, and things that I'm looking at, and things that I don't think I'll get to knit to, but are patterns that I think are beautiful, things like that. So if you were kind of on the fence about what you're going to be casting on this fall, I definitely recommend checking that out next week, and checking out some of the other beautiful ones that are coming out as well. Yeah, like spoiler alert, I do not like tomato red. So if you are a tomato red girly and you're hoping to see that on my list, it will not be there. I do not like it. But I love it for other people. It's just one of those things where I'm like, please do not put that tomato paste on your body. I'm sure it looks good on someone. Do I know who that someone is? I do not. I'm literally not thinking of anyone in my mind. It's just like every time I've seen it, I can't even see their face because it's just like tomato red on their body. That might be mean. I'm very sorry. It's not for me. I'm sure people see like my obnoxious greens and think exactly the same thing, or they look at me and they're like, why the F are you wearing neutral whites and greens all the time? I know, I'm boring. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry this episode deteriorated at the end. Wowza. I would love to hear what you're knitting on in the comments down below, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing week. I will see you next time. Bye!